May I please have a motion to return the regular board meeting to public session? Dr. Singh, thank you. Ms. Poulin, second. All in favor? Opposed or abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. I call the regular board meeting to order. All board members are present except for Mrs. Beeger. Mr. Matursky, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Be advised that in the event of a fire emergency and an evacuation should be necessary, an alarm will sound. Please note all marked emergency exits and evacuate well away from the building. At this time, we request that everyone please turn their cell phones and other electronic devices to silent. Thank you. Before we begin tonight's meeting, in lieu of the shooting that happened on May 14th, and also today's terrible tragedy that took place in Texas, I'm going to ask our superintendent, Dr. Darren Brown Hall, to give a few remarks and lead us in a moment of silence.
Thank you, President Leatherborough. And I appreciate that. And at this time, if I could, please ask for a moment of silence and remembrance of the individuals that were murdered in the racist act at Tops Supermarket on Saturday, May 14th in Buffalo, and the students and teachers that were killed moments ago in Texas. So if I can ask for a moment of silence at this time. Thank you. I ask that you please keep the families of the victims in your thoughts. It will take time to heal from this tragedy, but as a community, we will. We simply must. We continue to stand united against hate and racism in our communities and everywhere where we know love will have to prevail. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a motion to please approve the agenda as presented? Thank you, Dr. Littman. May I have a second? Thank you, Vice President Van Cise. Any discussion, please, on the agenda? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed or abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Item 3A is recognition and board acknowledgements. Dr. Brown Hall, I turn it over to you.
Thank you very much again, President Leatherborough. So tonight, we continue our school spotlight, highlighting the great work that goes on within our buildings. Tonight, our school spotlight focuses on Heim Middle School and building connections. At this time, I'd like to welcome up Heim Middle School Principal Extraordinaire, Dr. Jeff Jakluski, to share the unique ways that students, staff, and administrators have come together to build a strong school community. Principal Jakluski. Oh, and Assistant Principal Buffamonte.
Extraordinaire Buffamonte.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right.
Good evening, Dr. Brown Hall and our Board of Education. Building meaningful relationships with others is the foundation of the work that we do with our students at Heim Middle School. We appreciate our Williamsville district taking the time to spotlight the ways in which we build those relationships. It is done through a focus on the social emotional wellness of our young people, opportunities for student leadership, celebrating student success, and our culture of care.
The culture of care that Dr. Jakluski is talking about is the essence of who we are at Heim. The staff are remarkable in the way that they create strong support systems for our students. The interactions at our morning drop-off loop, our hallways, our classrooms, our lunchroom, and after-school activities all show genuine connections. They may seem like little things, but we believe those little things make a really big impact. Enjoy your sneak peek on how these meaningful relationships make Heim feel like home.
At Heim Middle School, community building is incredibly important to us. Building that community and working with one another and having good relationships with one another will lead to positive academic results for our building and just an overall better environment. And some of the ways that we do that include our Catch of the Week, our student ambassadors, and our Relax and Recharge Day.
Our catch of the week, we are celebrating Sahid, Michael, Leilani, and Jayla.
Catch of the week is when the assistant principal and the principal pick someone who is being responsible, being a kind-hearted person to other people, and just showing other people the respect that you want back. It really boosts, like, I'm happy for them, or like other kids are happy for them. Even if it's random kids, people are like, good job. So I feel like everyone's more happier because someone got catch of the week.
Hi guys.
A student ambassador is a person who is all around just an amazing person, and they also help people around the school, like new teachers, new students, by helping them find their locker, find their classroom, and just build healthy and strong relationships with people. It's important to build strong relationships so you have them with you, and so you can make sure that they feel safe with you, and so they feel safe with people that they're around.
Relax and Recharge Day is really an opportunity for kids to meet new people or just hang out with friends doing the things they love. There's like a ton of different options you can choose from of what you want to do, between like, I don't know, Mario Kart to flag football. It's always great to grow relationships, especially going up into these next few years of middle school and high school. And I think Relax and Recharge Day is a great way to do that.
It makes me incredibly proud to be the principal at Heim Middle School. Seeing our kids come in as very young 5th grade students and see the growth that they make through 8th grade and support each other throughout the grade levels. Heim means home. We want it to be like home, and we want everyone to be a family. Our kids are family, our staff members are family, so it's a great place to be.
Excellent.
Awesome. Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
That was great.
Absolutely. This time, are there any board acknowledgements? I'll start on my left and go down to the right. Ms. Kazmarek-Bogner.
Yes, I would like to recognize this year's PTSA Council Annual Service to Youth Award recipients who were chosen for their sustained and extraordinary service to Williamsville youth. That would be Stacy Quinlan for the Professional Award, Paula McCarthy for the Support Staff Award, Gina O'Neill for the Volunteer Staff Award, and anyone wishing to honor and congratulate them in person may attend the Service to Youth Award ceremony on Wednesday, June 1st at 6:30 p.m. in East High School. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone on my right? Vice President Van Sice.
Recently, Dr. Brown Hall, myself, and 3 high school administrators went to the SARD, which is Scholastic Achievement Recognition Dinner. So I would like to recognize our Williamsville Central School District students who were honored at the Erie Niagara Scholastic Achievement Recognition Dinner. From Williamsville East, we had Allison Lee, Mailer Suresh, and Helene Olson. Williamsville North, Inwoo Shin, Alexander Fallhaber, and Yolanda Wing. And from Williamsville South, Grant Bogner, Taryn Reitz, and Andrew Scalfani Cohen. I would also, last night was the PTSA council meeting, so I would like to congratulate the following PTSA students and groups who received the New York State PTA recognition and awards. First off, we had one individual who made it to the state level. Aiden Beeger from Williamsville North won the Jenkins Memorial Scholarship for Teacher Education. Maple East PTA Executive Committee from 2020 to 2021 won the Jamie Beth Knapp Family Engagement Award. Forest Elementary PTA was awarded Excellence in Bylaws and Procedure. The Excellence in Association went to our Williamsville Council of PTAs. And we also had Heim Middle School, who was awarded Excellence in Community. So congratulations to all of our PTSA units and to Aiden Beeger.
Anybody else from the board wish to make an acknowledgement? Great, thank you. We are now moving on to our public expression. So I call on our parliamentarian, Ms. Kazmarek-Bogner.
Thank you, President Leatherbarrow. Welcome to all who have come to observe this regular board meeting. Per policy 1510, the board allows up to 30 minutes of public comment.
a time when we invite members of our school community to share ideas, opinions, and concerns with us. While we are here to listen carefully and we take your concerns seriously, public comment is not designed to be a discussion. Therefore, please do not expect us to respond to your concerns tonight. Instead, you will receive an email after our meeting. Because we want to maintain mutual respect and civility, please ensure that comments are delivered in a respectful manner to the board directly. Also, under state and federal privacy laws, we are unable to entertain any comments related to employee personnel information or any topic that may disclose information about a particular student. On these matters, we ask that you go through the appropriate administrative channels. Please note that individuals are required to sign up prior to our meeting, and each speaker is allotted three minutes for comments. You will be signaled at 2.5 minutes so that you may conclude your remarks. At this time, we will begin public comments. After I call on you, please step up to the podium and state your name. Our first speaker this evening is Tracy Peterson.
Hi, I'm Tracy Peterson, and thank you for letting me speak. I wrote it all down in a script, so I stay within the 3 minutes.
Awesome.
I would like to ask the board to do a thorough review of their special education programs. As a parent of a child who is on the spectrum, I would like to see more programs throughout the district's schools. I believe it's necessary to expand upon the limited programs and classrooms that support special needs to cover more varying types and degrees of needs. The rates of autism diagnosis are increasing. Therefore, I feel all school administrators, principals, teachers, and aides should be properly and furtherly educated on special needs, but more specifically on autism. In addition, it would be prudent for all the schools to continue to educate on and promote inclusion. If inclusion is encouraged and done properly, this could be beneficial for all students to learn about neurodiversity and to learn to be accepting and inclusive of those that differ from them. We as parents of kids on the spectrum are constantly trying to teach our kids how to communicate and how to fit in the neurotypical environment, when in reality, it would be better to teach the neurotypical kids and staff how to communicate and include others that may be different. I would also like to suggest more social skills, classes, and groups for all children to be a part of to facilitate proper communication and inclusion amongst the peers. It would behoove the board to look into further funding for special education expansion and inclusion opportunities and more training for all the staff. It's been abundantly clear that there is a lack of special ed teachers, support staff, and aides to assist and help those that require more support. The special needs kids are not getting all of their needs properly met. Maybe for special education teachers, support staff, maybe if the district had more competitive salaries or just an increase in salaries for special education teachers, support staff, and especially the aides, there wouldn't be the lack of support or help that is a necessity for these special needs kids to get the education that parallels their gen ed peers. There may be a small number of children in the district that require special education, but those children deserve much more than what is presently in place. We truly appreciate that we are in a good district and the present staff is doing their best, but we believe Williamsville can and should be doing all they can to make it a great district for all students. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Peterson, for your comments about inclusion. Our next speaker this evening is Carolyn Nugent Grozinski.
That's correct. That's correct. Hi, Carolyn Nugent Gorzinski, and I also have my typed notes. So I'm a parent of a special needs student in the district as well. I've addressed the board a number of times years ago about mine and parents' concerns about the lack of appropriate special education programming and services in the district. I have not addressed the board in a number of years because after mine and other parents' advocacy, the programming and services for our children began to improve. We had hoped this trend would continue. Unfortunately, it did not. And we have witnessed increased entrenchment back into the district's old ways, actions that led us to air our grievances publicly before. Today, I stand before you because I understand the district may be looking for opportunities to increase integration of students with disabilities into regular district programming and curriculum. I fundamentally and I wholeheartedly support this effort, but it must be done right. Historically, it has not been done right in this district. Rather, I and other parents have witnessed this effort by the district to be more of an exercise. Improving our children with special needs cannot make it in regular programming and curriculum, and are better suited for placement in special education programming geared towards development of life skills. If the district is serious and truly invested in increasing integration opportunities for our children, which it should be, it should look into offering increased integrated co-teaching through all grade levels. As I understand it, the district offers very little, if any, integrated co-teaching classes at the elementary level. This is shocking, given the size of our district and the budget of our district. Children learn how to learn. They need integration opportunities at all ages. The district also must provide the necessary resources to students with disabilities who are integrated in regular district programming, including providing staff and teachers the tools, resources, and training to appropriately modify curriculum, differentiate instruction, and address the individual needs of these children successfully in this setting. I could go on with the efforts that the district must make to change what has been a history of failing our children. But I'm time limited. And so all I can say is I'm here. And anybody who will meaningfully listen to me, I will give you tips on how we can make it better for our kids. Systemic changes, not individual changes, though. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments about integration for special education students, Ms. Gorzinski.
Any other speakers?
There are no other speakers this evening, so that will conclude public comment period.
Thank you, and thank you to both of our speakers tonight. Moving on to the consent agenda items for 6, 7, and 8. May I please have a motion to approve item 6, personnel, 7, business items, and 8, special needs and student activities. Dr. Littman and Ms. Poulin, thank you. Is there any discussion on any of the consent agenda items? Dr. Littman.
Well, I just want to comment under 7, A, B, and C, which relates to business items, which relate to donations that have been received. And donations that are received from anyone to the district have to be approved by the board, which we will do. But there were 3 that jump out at me as making sure the community is aware of, because they bring forward some important points. The first one is a donation from the New York School Insurance Reciprocal Program, which was money, $1,000, targeted for program usage for our Unified Sports Program, which is a valuable program that many of our special needs students are now actively involved in. The second comes from the Super Bowl High School Honor Roll. And my understanding is that every player in the Super Bowl picks a school to receive a $5,000 grant. And Rob Gronkowski, I would say the New England Patriots, but he doesn't play there anymore, from Tampa Bay, decided that his money should be allocated to Williamsville North, where he attended. And the third is from Williamsville SEPSA, which was $600 to buy library books, which will enhance reading material for all of our students. So I just think they should get some recognition, or the community should know that people believe in what we do.
Thank you, Dr. Littman. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please. All hands up equals motion carries unanimously. So at this time, I'd like to invite Dr. Fetter to the podium. Dr. Fetter was just approved as one of our new directors. Welcome.
I'd like to first take a moment to thank Dr. Brown Hall, Dr. Balin, and the rest of the interview committee for making me feel so welcome throughout the interview process. I feel truly honored and privileged to be joining the Williamsville community. I'm incredibly excited, but also humbled by the work ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I'd also like to congratulate Christy Carroll, who was appointed as Director of ELA and Reading for K through 12. We've just met Dr. Fetter, who was appointed as Director of Science, Technology, and STEAM. And we've also approved Jamie Pitnell, who will be our Director of the Arts, Business and Marketing, and Family and Consumer Sciences. The Board of Education also extends best wishes and gratitude to the following retirees for their service to the district. Craig Krasansky from South High School for 18 years of service, and Susan Compais for North High School for 26 years of service. Let's give our retirees. All right, we are on agenda item 9, which is our approval of the minutes. All right, at this time, may I have a motion, please, to approve the minutes from the May 5th special board meeting in agenda item 9A. Thank you, Ms. Kasmerick-Bogner and Vice President Van Sice. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor? Okay, and Dr. Littman, do you want to abstain on that one since that was the one you missed?
Yeah, I'm fine.
No problem. So we've got a motion carries with 1 abstention. And now we are moving on to our president's report. May I please have a motion? Let's get to it here. May I please have a motion to adopt and approve the results of the annual district vote as presented in our board docs packet? Thank you, Ms. Poulin. Thank you, Dr. McClary. Is there any discussion on the results of the vote? For discussion purposes, I would like to thank our community for approving our budget and our air conditioning project. And I'd also like to thank the community for your faith in me as a successful candidate for re-election. Right? Yes, ma'am.
I would also like to thank Mrs. Lynn Carey, our district clerk, for all of the immense amount of time, planning, and preparation she put in for a very beautifully run budget vote day and election days. Thank you very much.
All right, all in favor on approving the results? Opposed or abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. At this time, I'd like to call Christina, say your last name for me. Christina Blackinger and Stuart Poulin to come to the podium to say hello. Thank you.
Stu and I just wanted to take a moment and thank the community and the board members for voting yes on the budget, yes for the capital project, and for accepting us for the positions for new board members. So thank you very much.
Yes, and we look forward to working with the members of the board and the community.
Yes, and you also, Dr. Brown.
Yes. Yes. Superintendent.
Awesome.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome.
All right, so moving on to 10B, there is a list of past events and a list of past school board visits that's in board docs. We have one additional school visit coming up on June 7th. There's reports for the visits that we have attended in the past. Does anyone wish to comment on any of the recent events? Okay, so now we're on item C. We want to assign some individuals that would like to be at the graduations this year. So all 3 graduations are taking place on Saturday, June 25th. They just have different start times. So South High School is at 6 p.m., North High School is at 10 a.m., and East High School is at 12 p.m. The rain date is Sunday for all three of them, so we'll keep our fingers crossed for good weather on the Saturday, because I know a lot of families sometimes plan their graduation parties for either later in the day or the very next day. So I just wanted to start a little discussion, a little bit of background. Prior to COVID, we had board members attend each graduation ceremony. We also had a speaker at each event. But now, we've had COVID, and that put the speeches from board members on recordings. That happened. But also, as a result of COVID, with us having graduation ceremonies on the turf field, or in the case of South, back in front, on the beautiful steps of the building, we want to make sure that the focus remains on the students. It's the day to celebrate the students. It's truly not about us as board members. However, we also want to be available and have a presence of support. So I wanted to get your feedback, but I was going to propose, and I know I've done this through email, but I wanted to share it publicly, that in lieu of pre-recorded speeches, that we just have a board member with a maximum of 2 attend the actual ceremony. So that way there is board representation at the ceremony, and 1 or 2 board members could be there to then shake hands with the students or fist bump or whatever we're going to do these days during post-COVID. And then, that way we have a presence, but we're not occupying the whole stage or prolonging the ceremony. I know there was some discussion at one of the PTAs about, since it's going to be on the turf and it's outside, and that was very successful last year. My son graduated then. But I think what made it successful was that we kept it short and sweet. And we kept it about the students. So the principal gave a short address, and then a student gave an address. And I think that really, as a mom, I was a mom last year, a role of mom and board member, but I think the parent just wants to see their child cross that stage, get their diploma, and get a picture. And I really think that is what we should keep our focus on. But I wanted to open it up for any discussion. If anyone feels otherwise, we could bring it to a vote if necessary. Any input? Vice President Van Cise.
So I absolutely agree with that. I think that if we do not do the speeches, which I personally feel a board member does not have to do a speech, but I would like to see the pre-recording actually go away. We did start the pre-recording 2 years ago during 2020. As I shared, I felt less than significant as I did the speech. My daughter graduated. I called it speed graduating because Williamsville North ran 10 ceremonies, 45 minutes each. And I could only go to the one that my daughter attended. It made sense at that point to give a jump drive to every student. However, it came in July. Our seniors have moved into their next chapter. I believe the only senior in the whole district that probably watched the pre-recording was my daughter, because I made her. And she still wasn't really enthralled with it. So I think that we attend the event. I love the idea of just having 2 board members. And if the speech is not from a board member, I think that's fine. I think having the principal and the students, that's where the focus should be. It's just such a celebration for the families and the students. So I would love to see us move into that direction.
Is there any other input that anyone would like to share? The one caveat I was going to offer was that if you have a child graduating that year, that you could be offered an opportunity to give a speech, but we would ask that it would be very short, like 3 minutes tops. But that's just if you have your child graduating. Usually if your child is graduating, you are able to give your child a diploma. It's our one perk of being a school board member.
Grandchild.
Or grandchild, one of many.
One of many
Okay.
perks.
I'm still waiting. All right. Any other feedback on that? Okay, so let's just decide then officially who's going to attend. Dr. McCleary, are you still willing to be a representative for the South ceremony?
Again, to reiterate, No speech.
No speech
Right?
necessary.
I'll be there.
And would anyone else from the board like to join the South graduation at 6 p.m. on the 25th of Saturday?
I think 2 is a good number, so I would be willing to do South since,
Okay.
unless Crystal wants to, but her son I think has prohibited that, right?
Gets to be a mom with
He's not going to be happy that you announced that publicly, but thank you.
Edit.
Okay, and for North High School, I know Mrs. Beeger has shared she'd like to be a representative since her son is graduating. I'm happy to also attend North. Is that okay, Suzanne? Okay. And then for East, Dr. Singh, did you still want to attend the East ceremony?
Yeah, hopefully I won't have to talk either.
You don't have to talk. Would anyone else like to join Dr. Singh for the East ceremony? That's at 12 p.m. Okay, it's just you this time.
I'll go. I mean,
Okay.
yeah, I can go.
All right, thank you so much. All right, moving on to the Erie County Association of School Boards. There are events that are listed in board docs, including mandated trainings for our newly elected candidates. So please take note of that. There also is an awards dinner. It's our annual dinner, nice end of the year affair. It's on Thursday, June 9th. It's at Clocks Grove in West Seneca. I am signed up to attend along with Dr. McCleary and Mrs. Van Sice. As individuals, we as board members have contributed money to purchase a gift basket that will be used for a raffle that night. That was our own money. That wasn't district funds. Is there anyone else from the board that wishes to attend the annual dinner? Dr. McCleary or Mrs. Carey, you're very much invited as well. Okay. All right. Does anyone else from the board wish to share anything regarding ECASB events? I know Vice President Van Sice, you already shared about the recognition dinner for students. All right, thank you. So we'll move on to New York State School Board Association and item E of my president's report. If you would like to attend the summer law conference, please let Mrs. Carey know so she can register you. There are in-person dates and there's also live virtual dates. I'll ask our newly elected board members to check out those dates in board docs. Notify Mrs. Carey if you wish to attend. There's also online training provided by NYSED for newly elected board members if you're not able to attend the ones being put on by Erie County. Does anyone have anything else to report under New York State School Board Association? Thank you. All right, item F, our policy committee meeting was held on May 20th. This is for the 4000 series. Ms. Kazmarek-Bogner, Dr. McCleary, and Ms. Poulin were also in attendance with Dr. Brown Hall and Mrs. Carey. All of the 4000 level policies were reviewed, and all edits and changes will be on the June 14th agenda. All right, we are now moving on to our end of year board goals review. I'm going to ask Mr. Filipowski if he would bring up the PowerPoint.
There's a clicker by Dr. Brown Hall.
Oh, thank
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't want to hoard all the clickers
you. Right. So board goals, let's see.
on the side.
Yep.
Perfect.
The board goals are a responsibility of the board each year, and we passed these earlier in the fall. I believe it was September. And each board member then was assigned a goal and was asked to review and monitor that goal throughout the year. At our December board meeting, we did a mid-year review, so I won't go through all of the items, but I'll just touch on a few of the items that we have as progress indicators and measures since our December review. So the first goal was monitored by myself. It's focused on student learning and achievement. So under the actions, we had our student achievement outcomes presentation at our March 8th board meeting. And Dr. Balin gave us a lot of interesting data since we didn't have normal, typical Regents exam data. And 3 through 8 data, or if we did have it, it was a little bit skewed because of participation. Dr. Balin was able to share with us other results based on other measures, particularly for elementary school. For item 2, since December, we had a review of the participation in government community service hours. So that is something that we will be modifying one of our policies to reflect these changes. There was also a presentation on UPK, which is our Universal Pre-K program. This was our second year having UPK here in the district. And we received a presentation on learning labs and student supports, and a presentation on arts programming. Let's see. In addition, with our duty of approving and monitoring the district's professional development plan and all of our academic supports, we did approve the curriculum council recommendations at the December meeting. We approved the academic intervention plan in January, and the 5-year strategic plan, which had an academic component, the February meeting. And in terms of celebrating staff and student achievements, we do that monthly with our school spotlight. It was great to hear from our principal and vice principal at Heim Middle School tonight. We also had a celebration of the book vending machines at Forest Elementary, the district art show, and its advertisement, which was virtual, but nonetheless very talented students. And as Vice President Van Slyce shared tonight, we had students recognize their student achievement recognition dinner. And those were just a few. I'm sure I could go on for pages mentioning all of the awards our students have received. We heard a few of the scholarships and end-of-year awards mentioned during board recognition. All right, so our next goal was student health and safety. And I'd like to call on our next board member who is presenting on this item. So who has student health and safety?
Well, I do, but I thought you were just going to go through them all.
Nope, you're going to do yours.
I'm not a big fan of speaking, but I'll give it my best.
It could be brief.
It can be really brief.
Okay, thank you for looking at the slide, and I appreciate it. If we look at the two main actions, it relates to board's responsibility to approve, review, and approve district policies related to this topical area that to me is very important, student health and safety. And it's interesting that it goes from 1 to 3. Is that what it says on there?
I think that was probably a typo.
Okay, no, because mine says 1 to 2, and I'm thinking, I'm sorry. And the second part is to advocate for the resources necessary to support the physical, mental, social, and emotional health, promote diversity, inclusion, and belonging of our students. And I think, the key parts of action item 1 really relate to looking at the DASA, appointment of DASA, district and building coordinators. We've talked about that one. But the key things is the annual or the monthly reports received from the superintendent in the community updates, and following the guidelines as so presented from the different groups that ask us to include their ideas. And today we will look at the district wellness, nutrition, and fitness annual report, which all of you have seen in board docs. The second one, again, is advocating for these resources. And the key part of that is, again, our having people like Dr. Singh on the wellness committee to have our board members involved in the Erie County School Board Association in those type of activities. Those reports, as you noticed today, are given at each monthly meeting. And finally, the Test to Stay program. We know that in December, Superintendent's committee update, those items were discussed. So this is the measures that we use, and I thank you for the time.
Okay, and Dr. McCleary?
In this goal, we talked about board, district, and community engagement, and the action has that we each serve as liaisons to our PTA, the Williamsville Education Foundation, SEPSA, ECASB, New York State School Board Association, Superintendent Community Council, and SIAC meetings. And so the measures, again, it was presented by Mrs. Leatherbarrow that we did talk about this mid-year. So the updates on here talk about that every month, board members do write and submit reports after attending their respective liaison assignments. And we continued, of course, with the weekly videos and updates from the superintendent. And that we, again, try every single month to be involved and active as individuals in the various events that go on in our district, building level or community-wise. And that we would hold 2 community forums, budget forums, and public hearings. And indeed, you can see by the dates, we have met that goal in terms of having various public forums. And we thank the public for being willing to either Zoom with us or arrive with us and have some very meaningful dialogue. Number 3 talks about visiting the schools throughout the year, and I won't read them all. That we did have the opportunity to go visit each school building. Several board members went each time, and we were always very, very pleased to see the many, many wonderful things that are going on in each of our buildings. And we have 2 left. We will visit Dodge in about 2 weeks and the district office. And the 4th goal was to send written correspondence to members of the community. And I would, of course, like to thank Mrs. Leatherbarrow, who always took the opportunity as our president to speak for us and send communications to the community members who came to the podium or sent us emails on topics that were important to them.
Thank you, Dr. McCleary. And our next one is Budget and Development and Fiscal Oversight. Ms. Kasmerick-Bogner.
Yes. So for Action 1, we have received monthly updates related to the facility and capital improvements, including the district-wide security improvement project, which started over April break and will continue throughout the summer, as well as the proposed elementary air conditioning capital improvement project, which was approved by the community at our May 17th district vote. For 2, we will continue to monitor expenditures and revenues throughout monthly consent agenda items and finance items. And of note, we did receive a presentation on the use of the federal COVID-19 relief grants in April. For 3, the 2022-23 budget development process began in October. It was monitored monthly, and we asked many questions at the table. Then we approved the proposed budget in April. And then moving on to 4, all related documents and presentations regarding any finance or budget development were available to the community on board docs. And the community was able to provide input at 3 budget public forums and the May budget hearing. For 5, additionally, the 2022-23 budget book, Budget Fast Facts, and Budget Connection were all posted on the district website, and the Budget Connection was mailed to district residents. Then on May 17th, the budget passed with 79% voting yes. And then finally, for 6, the board approved funding for collective bargaining agreements and other personnel contracts, which are all listed in the measures.
Thank you very much. And our final goal will be reviewed by Dr. Singh.
I'm sorry, I just couldn't read from this angle. I had to go online.
Well, that's okay. You
There's one for you.
can turn
Behind you.
behind you if it's easier to see it. Just
Want you to see the back of my head. Actually, in this diversity, I think equity and inclusion, this is, I think, the first time we have this in our board goals this year. And after the meeting yesterday, I can safely say that we made significant progress in DEI. We had our first meeting yesterday, and I think it went really well. Dr. Brownhall will probably talk more about it during his presentation. And we have updated the code of conduct, and I think we will be approving the strategic plan at today's meeting. So we have made, the progress we have is ongoing. And I think if from yesterday's meeting, if we hopefully stick to the plan, we'll have something by end of October. And then we can have a plan that's going to be implemented in all our schools, all across the school district. And I guess that's pretty much what it is.
All right, thank you. I think it's an important piece to mention that the work of the board starts with our goals. So when we set our goals at the beginning of the school year, we are then using our goals as our framework for how we use our time for the months ahead. And our goals are also a guide for our superintendent, who follows our lead in knowing what is a priority to us as a board. And when you talk about your mission, values, and your goals, you want to make sure that you put your money on what you value. So when you set goals, we designate our resources, and our resources are our money, but also our time and our personnel. So we designate our time, money, and personnel to what we say is important to us as a board and as a district. And I think you made a good point, Dr. Singh, of saying that, this DEI, for example, started off as a goal, which then turned into a policy of our board, which was part of the strategic plan, which we will officially approve, even though we've reviewed it several times. And then it turned into committees at each building with the team beginning to meet. So that's an example of, why is it taking the whole year to do something? But when you put a lot of thought into it, and you're very inclusive of including multiple people from multiple backgrounds, it takes longer to do those things. It's a lot easier for someone to sit in a room alone and create a document and say, here's your plan. But that's not going to mean anything to us if it doesn't have the buy-in from the community and the staff. So thank you, board members, for sharing your updates. If you have anything you want to add to this document, I did notice a few of them weren't updated since December, and we did do significant work since December. So if there's something you want to add to it, you can send it to Mrs. Carey, because it does become part of our public record. So we want to make sure we have that accurate.
There's one thing I forgot to add.
Of course.
For the DEI committee, we have a really broad support from our board. 4 of our board members are on the committee. I think that's the most on any committee. Hopefully, we'll interact with all the stakeholders, the parents, the teachers, the administrators, and we'll come up with a good plan.
And about how many people were at your first meeting today?
48. On my screen, it said there were 48.
That's right there. Very impressive, right? Okay, excellent. Thank you so much. All right, we are now moving on to item 11. So Dr. Brownhall, I turn it over to you for your community update.
Thank you very much. And thank you for the details that the entire board put into the district goals report. Thank you very much for the specifics. Very helpful. Community update, May 24th, 2022. First things first, the district vote. I want to thank the community members for approving our 2022-2023 budget, our bond proposition, and the elementary school air conditioning project. So thank you very much for approving all of those. It's really important for our community and our continued success in the district. I also want to congratulate our board president, Teresa Leatherborough, for being reelected. And I want to welcome Stuart Bulin and Christina Bleckinger, as you saw them at the podium. So we're looking forward to welcoming those two new individuals to the Board of Education. And their 3-year terms begin July 1, 2022, and will end June 30th, 2025. So welcome aboard and congratulations, President Leatherborough.
Thank you.
Climate and communication survey. So we've been working to develop a climate and communication survey, and the questions are taken from the federal education surveys that were sent out to schools that are CSI and TSI schools, but we've adapted those questions and adopted those questions so that we can get a real feel for how our staff, our teachers, our parents, our students feel about our district and what we may need to look to improve upon. So we'll be conducting a district-wide climate survey and communication survey also, gathering data information to help guide our decision-making. And it will highlight our strengths and areas in need of improvement in an effort to provide an educational environment where all are welcomed, informed, included, and afforded equitable opportunities with our programming. So we want to launch this survey on June 3rd and have it open for a few weeks so that parents are able to complete it. And it will be closing June 24th. And we will compile the data, we will share the data, and we will use that as we make sure we streamline our goals for next year. And that will aid our schools when they're developing their action plans. And it will help us as we develop our action plans for the strategic plan and our DEI plans. Dr. Lippman.
When you do the data analytics, when you look at teachers in the schools and their perception of this school climate versus, parents and people in the community who aren't in the school as often, is that going to be part of the results that we will see?
Yeah, and that's how we geared the questions also, right? So really the teacher-specific questions are really teacher-specific information that they will have knowledge about in their schools. It wouldn't benefit us to ask a parent about things that they would not know as well as a teacher. That's why the surveys are so specific and distinct.
And just for clarity, is it all staff or just teachers?
It's all staff. So we have non-instructional staff and regular staff. Teachers and non-instructional staff. We have students and parents also.
Okay, thank you.
Does that include like custodial staff in that group also?
Yep, absolutely.
Oh.
Yep, all means all, because everyone contributes to the educational environment of a school building. We know that. And again, the survey is not mandatory, it's voluntary and anonymous. District-wide DEI committee. So I heard President Leatherborough ask how many people were on the meeting yesterday. And it was our first district-wide DEI committee meeting. We had 19 administrators, 14 teachers, 10 parents, and 4 Board of Education members. And so we saying here we're finalizing a date for the first communications committee meeting because that is important also. And those of you who were on the meeting yesterday, you saw how excited our facilitator, Dr. Morrell, was that our director of communications was there too, because it's important that we communicate what the DEI team is working on and what our DEI plan will eventually look like. But yesterday, for the first DEI committee, it was really, really insightful to get a lot of the DEI members of the team to really tell their stories and their backgrounds and what they hope to contribute and gain from this DEI committee. And as Dr. Singh said, we are being very aggressive with our timeline for a finalized plan. We're looking at the end of October to have a finalized plan. And if that needs to be adjusted, we will do that. But we want to make sure we have an end date in mind, and we will be working on that plan until that time. Our next meeting.
Can I jump in for 1 second? I know there's 4 board members that are part of that. Did you decide who's going to submit a report? Or maybe you can have that conversation offline, because those of us who aren't on it would still love to see a report from the committee.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
No problem. I appreciate that.
They're collecting minutes of the meeting, so that would be shared with everyone on the board. I would
Right, but we have a report process that I'd like to keep. Thank you.
Absolutely. And our next meeting will be Tuesday, June 21st. And that will be our next DEI district-wide committee meeting. So as many of you heard today, we had the announcement today, and the Buffalo News reported that the June Regents Exam for U.S. History and Government Framework has been canceled. That exam was slated for next Wednesday, June 1st. So New York State Education Department experts determined that there is content on the new Regents Examination in U.S. History and Government Framework that has the potential to compound student trauma caused by the violence in Buffalo, which created an unexpected and unintended context for the planned assessment. So our high school principals have been notified, and they have notified, in turn, have notified their families earlier today of the change. Information in Dr. Rosa's memo is available to review on the district website.
Can I share something on that? I just want to acknowledge all of our U.S. history and government teachers, because I know that a great deal of time and effort goes into preparing students for a final exam, especially a Regents exam. So I just want to acknowledge them, because you just never know what your phone's going to tell you when it goes ding, and it went ding, and I said they canceled the exam, and I forwarded it to Dr. Brown Hall and the board, and why, yes, they did. So, I respect the rationales given by the Board of Regents, but I do want to acknowledge our teachers and also our students, because many of our students have already started participating in after school and morning review classes. I know my daughter's been taking review classes on a daily basis after school, and there's a lot of pressure that comes along with preparing for a Regents exam. So I want to acknowledge our students too. I hate that word pivot, but we did have to pivot in this situation. And I just want to acknowledge everyone's effort and flexibility, because it's still very unpredictable times.
You're very right, and I appreciate that. Thank you very much, President Leatherborough. Summer school information is available. So it's available on our district website for grades K to 12. The Summer School Connection newsletter will be mailed to families. If you have any questions, as I mentioned in the weekly update last week, you can contact the elementary and middle school principal, Heidi Buffamonte, and assistant principal, Patrick Quast, at 626-8601. And our high school principal is Courtney Charleston Smith, and our assistant principal is Nick Suhana. And you can contact them at 626-8403, or you can look at our district website, and under the summer school tab will be the summer school information. So that is available now.
And can you confirm that we're offering courses for both remediation and credit recovery, but also for acceleration?
Yes. Yes. I didn't mean to finish your sentence, but I was hoping by doing that, that would affirm what you were saying. So
It's always good to know. And we have a lot of students that do take advantage of the acceleration track.
Awesome. COVID-19 test kit distribution, which I'm sure parents are tired of me talking about, but I want to stress how important it is that you keep these tests on hand, because you never know when a child has a cough, someone in the family has a cough, is not feeling well, you're able to grab one of these tests and do the rapid test. So we will once again have another distribution on Wednesday, June 8th. This time, however, we are asking parents to opt in to request that the test kits be sent home instead of the opt out as we did before. So the survey will open on Monday, May 30th and close on Friday, June 3rd. We are aware that there's no school Monday, May 30th, but it will still open that day. And then we will send the test kits home on Wednesday, June 8th. We will also have, and we will talk about this later, but we will also have test distributions at central office in the month of July and the month of August. So we are very, very fortunate that we continue to get approximately 10,000 test kits a month. And we are going to make sure our families receive those. Unified sports. So I want to say, Nick, do we have a clip of yesterday?
Yep, this is if you click the video.
Okay, if you could, because that was amazing. I went to North High School for the scrimmage of the unified basketball team, and that was phenomenal. But I do want to stress before we click the image that they have their playoffs beginning. So students from East, North, and South form our unified basketball team, and they begin their postseason play. First round of playoffs begin Tuesday, May 31st, with the culminating event and awards on Thursday, June 2nd. And yesterday, and I did not know about this event at North High School, but Assistant Superintendent Scanzuzo told me how great it was and that I simply had to attend. So we all went over at 2 o'clock, and it was the highlight of my day. So if you could play the clip, Nick, thank you.
Today we had an inter-squad scrimmage pep rally. Unified basketball is made up of many of our students from across the district, and then they get partner students who work with them as teammates on the court, and it's just a great way to get more kids involved in athletics.
Our home games are usually a full crowd. It's really nice to see when a kid makes a basket, the entire crowd would cheer for them. That's really nice. It's not all about winning, it's about having fun. You know, my buddy David Hewlin over there, that's what he stands by, and that's why he's a good friend of mine.
This is really fun for kids that don't get opportunities like us, and it makes my day.
What's it feel like when you're out there playing?
It feels fun because I'm out with friends and I like playing, and it's really fun just having fun.
They're part of the fabric of this school. If you just saw the energy here and how much the kids in this building support them, whether it's the teammates or the partners or just everyone here, to get these kids together and to be able to cheer each other on is immeasurable. This is everyone coming together to support a great cause and support as many students as possible being involved in extracurricular activities. It really exemplifies willpower.
Absolutely. Like Principal Caniglio said, that really exemplifies willpower. It was a phenomenal day.
All right.
Don't I have more on the PowerPoint, Nick? Okay, great. What a great community update. Thank you very much.
All right. All right.
I turn it back over to you, President Leatherborough.
Fine. So we're going to go back and look at our strategic plan. I know we've reviewed it throughout the year. We got so excited reviewing it last time that we forgot to vote on it. So we are going to take our official vote because we all thought we had voted and we had not. So at this time, may I have a motion to please approve and adopt the 5-year strategic plan as presented? Thank you, Ms. Poulin and Dr. Singh. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed or abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. We are now moving on to our code of conduct. The code of conduct was shared with us at our last month's meeting, and we had a public hearing to receive input from stakeholders. We are now ready to bring the code of conduct to a vote. So with that, may I please have a motion to approve and adopt the revised code of conduct as presented? Dr. Littman, thank you, and Dr. Singh, thank you for that. Any discussion? One point of discussion, I appreciate the list of participants being updated. And I want to share publicly that I had asked the superintendent to consider for the future more parent involvement for the approval of the code of conduct and the development of the code of conduct. I think we have shown this year that we have active parents and they like to have opportunities to share their voice. And I feel this would be a good opportunity for that. Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, Mr. Scanzuza, for all of your work leading this committee as well.
Awesome.
All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. All right, we are now moving on to our policy review. D, may I please have a motion for the first reading of policy updates 7554, student gender identity, and 3220, use of service animals, as presented. Thank you, Vice President Van Cise. May I have a second, please? Ms. Poulin, thank you. Is there any discussion? All right, I want to share that the updates for the student gender identity policy are just legal updates that come from Erie One BOCES. So Erie One BOCES provides legal updates. If you go in and look at the changes being recommended, they're just language changes. They're very minor. They don't change the overall content. And also for service animals, I want to amend the motion for 3220 to title the policy use of assistance animals, comma, service animals, comma, and therapy dogs. And the reason for that title change in the amendment is if you look at the policy, it starts referring to assistance animals and service animals, but it doesn't include all of them in the title of the policy. So with that, I'd like to ask if there's an approval for the amended motion of keeping 3220 with the title change and also supporting 7554 as updated by Erie One BOCES.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Pullen. May I have a second on that? Dr. Singh, thank you. All in favor? Opposed or abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Since that was just our first reading, and we always do 2 readings on policies before approving them, may I please have a motion to table these policies for a second reading and adoption at the June 14th meeting? Thank you, Mr. Biscaglia and Vice President Van Cise. All in favor? All hands up equals motion carries unanimously. We have received a recommendation from our superintendent regarding an administrator coaching contract. Item E. May I please have a motion to approve and authorize the superintendent of schools to enter into a contract with Western New York Educational Service Council as presented? Thank you, Dr. McCleary and Vice President Van Cise. Is there any discussion on this item? Seeing none, all in favor? All hands up equals motion carries unanimously. All right, we have several finance items. I'm going to chunk them and do them in half. So may I please have a motion to resolve to approve and authorize items 12A, 12B, 12C, 12D, and 12E. Thank you, Ms. Pullen. Thank you, Ms. Kazmarek-Bogner. Are there any discussion on those finance items? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed or abstention? Motion carries unanimously. And for the remainder of the items, may I have a motion to approve items 12F, 12G, 12H, and 12I? Thank you, Dr. Singh, and thank you, Vice President Van Cise. Any discussion?
Yeah,
Dr. Littman.
Just wanted to get some clarity because I know years ago we had developed a cost policy for using our facilities. And on this list, we have a number of groups, 6 of them of varying lengths, using different athletic facilities, and they have different prices. So I was curious on how that might have been structured.
Dr. Littman speaking to item 12I. And here
Yes.
comes Mr. Matursky.
Yeah, approve summer lease agreement for athletic camps.
Thank you.
Yes, several years ago, with our attorney's consultation, when we do camps, it was actually more beneficial because they're separate and distinct from the district. So as a result, an actual agreement was required. So that's why we put together a legal agreement, which would be a lease of space, basically. That is different than the facility usage amounts that you would normally approve at the reorganization meeting. And for athletic fields, you'll notice that when we did the turf fields in the district, we also had a different schedule for what those fees would be. When we do these type of camps, they apply to the district. They have to meet the requirements, the legal requirements in the agreement, and they also have to provide the insurance and the other stipulations that are in the agreement, which are attached to this agenda item. We all do that, and if you were to actually cost out the items, and what we do on leases also is they actually charge for their attendees, the students, to attend their camps, and that can be significant. And the cost for these leases is determined based upon a number of factors, including the number of days they use the camp, the number of participants in the camp, and the cost they're charging for the camp entrance. And as a result of that, we come up with a reduced amount. The amounts do vary and they should vary because of the number of camp attendees per these camps, as well as the number of days, as well as the cost. So that's why we come up with the varying cost for the camps. But in almost all situations, they still are making having some funds for their booster organizations after the fact of paying our fees.
I thank you, Mr. Matursky. That was very clear. Okay, so thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you for that, Dr. Lippman. All in favor? Opposed or abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to item 13, which is our liaison reports. If you have any reports to update, please send them to Mrs. Carey. List of meeting dates is in board docs, although our list of meeting dates is coming to an end. Would anyone like to report on a meeting or event recently attended? Ms. Kaczmarek-Bogner.
Actually, I would like to report on an event that is coming up. The Special Education PTSA is offering an after-school program open house with the ARC of Erie County. That's going to be Thursday, May 26th at 7 p.m. at 30 Wilson Road, Williamsville, 14221. This is so that individuals can learn more about the new ARC after-school program, which I believe is scheduled to start in the fall. This is a program specifically for Williamsville students with developmental disabilities. And there is an application process, and you have to have OPWDD eligibility in order to attend. But there will be that open house. Thank you.
Information, thank you.
Just to, I looked up that location, and that's over by Lawrenceville Drive. And I was trying to figure out where it was.
Yep.
Now I know.
Where it is. Yep. Any other reports or announcements? Yes, Mrs. Van Cise.
So as mentioned earlier, the Service to Youth reception is next Wednesday, June 1st. I am the Williamsville North representative, but I've been asked by the co-chairs if a board member is planning on attending, if you would please RSVP to me, just let me know so that I can put you in for an accurate count. The other thing I did want to mention, just for really the public, so the district used to host a PTSA council, host a craft fair. That was our excellent fundraiser. That's a lot of that portion goes to student scholarships, different student programming. So they were not able to do it for the past 2 years. There is a meeting scheduled for tomorrow night here at the Board of Ed with the PTSA Council Executive Committee. Ona Strang will be leading it, who was in charge of the craft fair. Anyone interested, there are so many vendors that keep reaching out and asking to have this craft fair. We know we would like to bring the craft fair back so that we can have scholarships readily available and all these other different things that we can give to our students. So if you're interested or you know of anyone interested, please tell them about tomorrow night's craft fair meeting.
It's really a nice event every year. It takes place in the Heim campus. So it's Heim Elementary and Heim Middle School. And they get the popcorn going. I can usually smell the popcorn, the kettle corn from my house. So I'm really hopeful that we can get some volunteers, because it's one of these events that without the volunteers, it's going to be difficult to have this keep going. So I also want to just ask the board to start thinking about liaison assignments for the next year. Typically, we each take a minimum of 3 assignments. There is some value in switching assignments. If you've done the same assignment for more than 2 years, perhaps you might want to share and let someone else have an opportunity. It also is a great way to learn about happenings at other buildings besides the one that you've maybe been at the whole time. We do typically offer first dibs at a school liaison assignment to a board member that has a child or a grandchild that attends that school. And we want to try and get a draft of assignments at the July meeting so that we could have the official assignment list to approve in August. I'll share too that Suzanne and I attended PTSA Council last night along with Dr. Balin, and the members were discussing their meeting dates. So I know typically they get their meetings in so that they can be posted on the district calendar. That's why we were asking you questions about the calendar last night. And they're supposed to be getting that ready within the next month, because it's important that if we commit to a particular meeting or a particular assignment, that we're making sure we're available when, like if they always hold on a Thursday and we're not available on Thursdays, then don't pick that one. Okay, so we'll just have to look at what they're offering and whether or not they're going to change any of their meeting dates. Any questions or comments regarding any of that? All right, thank you. Are there any legislative matters that anyone wishes to discuss? All right, thank you. We are now on item 15. So Superintendent Brown Hall, I turn it over to you and Assistant Superintendent Dr. Balin for our art presentation.
Absolutely. So I will call on Assistant Superintendent of Instruction, our Chief Academic Officer, Dr. Marie Balin, to introduce the art presentation.
Thank you so much, Dr. Brown Hall. Good evening, everyone. Thank you to the Board of Education for this opportunity. I would like to also welcome a few colleagues to the podium with me this evening, our Mr. Michael Russo, Director. And I would like to bring forward Mary Ellen Ryan, an art teacher from South High School. I'd like to thank them both. They presented a phenomenal presentation to our Curriculum Council this year, along with other colleagues from our art program. And I think you will be, as we often are when we see our student artwork, amazed, impressed, and really looking at the various ways our students are expressing themselves through art in this fabulous program. So I would like to thank all of our teachers, and in particular, in this case, our art teachers, for their commitment to our students each and every day. So thank you, Mary Ellen and Michael, and I will pass the baton off to you. Thank you again for being here.
Thank you very much, Dr. Balin. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Make sure the clicker is on. The clicker is on, and that's a good thing. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity to speak about the amazing art program we have in Williamsville. We've been asked to provide a brief synopsis of our presentation to Curriculum Council, a celebration, if you will. And I have to say, it's extremely difficult in a good way to take only a few minutes to demonstrate what goes on, but we'll do our best. Maybe I turned the clicker on. Oh, just give it a second.
We can switch.
Want to use this one?
Another one. We've got backups.
Backups are a good thing. Oh, there.
Oh, I'm doing it. Here you go.
Okay.
I should just make sure it was working. There you go. Absolutely.
Great. The 2017 revised New York State Learning Standards for the Arts introduced the foundational artistic processes of creating, presenting, responding, and connecting. Media arts was introduced as a separate discipline and is included in what visual arts teachers should design curriculum around. During the curriculum revision process since 2017, we have been incorporating the new standards for both visual and media arts into revised curricula. By the end of this summer, we will have completed the revision of all art courses to reflect the new standards. And today we're going to present a brief overview of the program through the lens of the artistic processes. The first process, creating, is the essence of visual art. Students express themselves through creating. Here's a few examples across the grade levels. In the upper left, we've seen an elementary school student exploring primary colors. In the middle, on the top, a high school photography piece. Next, we have three-dimensional work at the high school level in the upper right, at the middle school level in the lower left. And I must say that that is making me quite hungry at the same time. We have a found object color wheel completed by a kindergarten student during virtual instruction, and a three-dimensional pop art piece. To provide context for the overall program, we're going to view the creating progression experienced by students as they move through their school career. On this slide for elementary, you see the progression of the student as they move through elementary school from kindergarten through fourth grade in the self-portrait project. And you can see how it just develops year after year, not only in the technique, but in their expression of the individual self. And it really comes to light. This slide shows a progression of portrait drawing skills at the middle school level and students' attention to detail. As students advance in years at the middle level, they draw from personal experience and visual culture in order to create meaning in artwork. Students are taught realistic portraiture to correctly capture the proportions of the human face. Students have the opportunity to explore a wide variety of media with many diverse technical approaches. And yes, looking at all those and their incredible work, the lower right corner was done by an 8th grade student.
Wow.
Wow.
I am not sure.
Perfect. It's like perfect.
It's absolutely amazing. Students deepen their study and refine their skills as they progress through high school. The examples on this slide are from the upper level courses, Art Portfolio and AP Art and Design. By the time students reach their senior year, they have developed a portfolio that represents an incredible range of both technique and expressiveness. And as you look across these, the technique, the expressiveness is truly, truly remarkable. We're going to move on to the next artistic process of presenting. It includes interpreting and sharing artistic work. Once art is created, the possibilities for presenting are virtually limitless and have a direct impact on how the art is perceived. Speaking of virtual, one benefit that came out of the pandemic is the availability and accessibility of virtual platforms. And Nick, if you want to jump over while I'm going through this, that would be perfect. When we're not able to gather in person for art shows, we switch to virtual presenting through Padlet, a technology resource the district has invested in. Looking forward, we are excited to return to in-person events like the Budget Vote Art Show that we just did, alongside virtual presentations. Plans are underway for another virtual show next month. I will now turn it over to Mary Ellen Ryan to speak about the artistic process of responding and connecting.
Do you want to click for me while I speak? Okay, that'd be easier. The next New York State standard for the visual arts I would like to speak to is on the importance of responding. The goal of this standard is to evaluate and understand how the arts convey meaning. The following images are an example of the value art has on a child. When students create, they have the opportunity to respond while showcasing individual aesthetics for personal work as well as demonstrating empathy, awareness. Higher critical thinking is developed through engagement with art while responding to artwork and their culture around them. Students are then able to understand and appreciate oneself, others, and the world in which we live. Students have the opportunity to respond to artwork in a variety of ways. Students may engage in peer reviews and class critiques where they are encouraged to give each other beneficial and constructive feedback. This is in an effort to help them grow in the artistic process and achieve the best outcomes. Students may also respond to well-known and highly recognized art by well-known artists by viewing artwork in classrooms or online, or taking the opportunity to partake in field trips to the local gems right here in our backyard, where we are fortunate to have world-renowned art museums like the Albright Knox. We also have the Birchfield Penny Art Gallery, which showcases local and regional artists. Viewing and responding to each other's artwork, as well as a variety of different art styles and genres, gives students a well-rounded perspective to appreciate a diverse range of concepts, cultures, and art movements, fostering a deep appreciation for the arts. Okay, the next New York State standard for the visual arts I would like to speak to you on is the importance of connecting. The goal of this standard is to create relatability through art, making connections through artistic ideas and personal meaning. These images represent just a few of many significant ways we make connections with each other and with our communities through our art. In Williamsville, our students have many opportunities to make those important connections, whether it be through our local building arts and craft shows, our annual district art show at the Buffalo Niagara Heritage Museum, participating in Art Alive, in which our students engage in live performance art through the Albright Knox or the Albright Knox Future Art Curator Program. Our students' art extends beyond our district and pours out into the hearts of our local community. Our students have collaborated with the University of Buffalo
on various anti-bullying campaigns, as well as local and national art contests. For example, the Taste of Buffalo, where Williamsville students' artwork has been featured in posters and their ads for the event. Our elementary and middle school students' artwork can be seen throughout the village of Williamsville on traffic boxes, and I can go on, but the art endeavors are endless. Also pictured here is professional development experience between pre-service teachers and schools through Buffalo State College, titled Buffalo State College Partnership, Buffalo City Schools, Kenton Schools, and Williamsville Schools partner with Buffalo State to provide opportunities for collaboration and fostering the next generation of art educators. Works of art and design support and influence the needs, desires, and beliefs and traditions and values of the people within a culture. Making connections, whether it be in literature, art, or culture, foster a child's learning for better understanding. Art is used in many projects to give to others. One example of this is the Memory Project, where students create portraits of children in other countries who are often living in difficult situations from impoverished countries, and the charity then send us the photos that the students use as a reference to create portraits for them, and then we in turn send them back to them. Often these portraits serve as mementos and possibly the only keepsakes that these children may ever have. It is so fulfilling for our students to let the children on the other side of the globe know that someone took the time to create a portrait for them and that someone else cares. Williamsville South has participated in this project for a few years now. In the short video clip we are going to show you, you will see South students holding the portrait of a student from Malaysia that they created. Then you'll see the reaction when the students receive them. This particular clip is especially moving since you'll see the delivery of the art took place just before the global shutdown for the pandemic in March of 2020.
I really love your drawing. This is really cute and I really miss you. I really wish to meet you in person one day. It is so much.
On the other side, you'll have a portrait. And you'll have more portraits. More portraits. And on the back of every portrait, you'll get to see
Thank you
That pretty much sums it up right there.
That's awesome.
The connecting. Thank you for allowing us the opportunity to share a short overview of our outstanding visual art program.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Any questions or comments from the board? Mr. Biscaglia.
That was really nice to see. I was never a person into art. My son, like 3 years old, got into drawing all the time, and so we just you let him do it, and he's excelled so much that he makes me draw, and I'm actually getting better now. So seeing that was really it was wonderful, and I know that the district has a very good art program. I mean, the strides that my two sons have made is, and the joy that they have when they bring things home. I noticed like the one student had Maple West drew the pixel of a Minecraft, and just the other day at Maple West Art Fest, I saw my son's like that's the first one he ran to, and arts, music, they get into the creative side of every student, and seeing that after the last couple of years is very touching and heartwarming. So it was wonderful.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. All right, we're going to move on with our agenda to try and round out our meeting. So we are on item 16. Yeah, one of them works. Thank you so much. May I please have a motion to resolve and approve the funding for the negotiated agreement between the superintendent and the Williamsville Teachers Association in item 16A, and the funding for the contract of employment amendment for the labor relations specialist in 16B. Thank you, Dr. Littman and Ms. Poulin as our second. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? All hands up equals motion carries unanimously. Item 17, our district facilities and support services. Superintendent Brown Hall and Mr. Matursky, I turn it over to you.
Thank you very much, President Leatherborough. Our Assistant Superintendent of Finance, Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Tom Matursky will give a brief overview and update.
Thank you, Dr. Brown Hall. Just very briefly, I'll start with the nutrition and fitness report. This is an annual report. It is based upon our policy 5661. This year was still a COVID year as we were transitioning out of COVID. So although the committee met virtually and we put the document together as a Google document, it wasn't following what would be a pre-COVID normal process. We did list the items that were done throughout the year, and we hope that we will begin the process again as normal for the 22-23 school year. There were a couple suggestions that we received, and we're going to incorporate them into our planning for next year. Number one, including students in the committee. And secondly, we'll be talking with our child nutrition department on what they can do to also expand their lunch service to offer other options for other students who have other nutritional needs. This year, again, we were serving all those lunches free and reduced. That was the state requirement. So that did have an impact also on their program. Just transitioning over to the energy report. Again, this is an annual report done by the district. And although not surprisingly that we had energy cost increases, the amount of the increases even surprised me when I saw the report. We were up 46% on the rate for we received on electricity, and we were up 87% on natural gas. Those are very big numbers. I do want to say that we do participate in a cooperative purchasing for both those utilities through what's called the SMEC, which is the School and Municipal Energy Cooperative, which is managed by Erie One BOCES. it really represents a number of schools and municipalities throughout New York State. So the buying power is there. Unfortunately, the markets are not there for us. So we are hoping that this becomes a little more stable in the next year. The one positive thing I will just leave you with is our utility budgets were able to sustain these increases this year. There was a little bit of an offset due to the New York Power Authority project, which throughout the year finally was complete with the substitution of LED lighting in all of our classrooms. So that did help us reduce usage a slight amount on utilities. So that's the report. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
I have a question. I mean, this is just for information. Do we know if the state is going to subsidize lunches for next year?
We do not have that information at this point. Right now, it expires at the end of June. So if nothing does occur from the law perspective, we would go back to the normal free and reduced lunch process rather than all lunches being free.
And that came from the federal government.
Correct.
Okay.
Right.
I mean, assuming the energy prices keep going up this year, would that affect our budget?
It's a great question. And the answer to that is that the costs will go up for the food quantities and all of that. It is likely that the revenues that we're receiving, since the lunch prices are not going to change at this point for next year. However, some of you have noticed from some of the information provided on the cafeteria revenue that we have received a significant amount of revenue there, and there's going to be some fund balance. So if there is a over expenditure to revenue, the program will be able to handle it, and then we'll reassess at the end of next year, because June is the meeting where we normally request an increase in lunch rates if it's necessary, but we are not doing it for the 22-23 year.
I mean, I saw from the budget there was like 2.4 million excess
Right.
in the budget. So we can carry that money going forward?
Correct. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Dr. Singh. Any other questions or comments?
That was my question too.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Matursky.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Anyone have any special needs or student activity items to discuss? Does anyone have any items to discuss under committee of the whole? Ms. Kathmerick Bogner.
Hi, yes. I had just heard some parents in the community asking about parent-teacher conferences. I believe it was in 2017-18, the district moved from having 2 conferences a year to 1 conference per year to allow for more instructional time for the students. And I was just wondering, Dr. Brown-Hall, what are your thoughts about having 1 versus 2 parent-teacher conferences per year at the elementary level?
Absolutely, and I thank you for that question. And we know that parental contact with the school and the teachers is very important. And I know that the 1 parent-teacher conference that is held in the fall/winter time is really important. I think, though, what we can't devalue is the connections that the teachers and the parents make throughout the year. And we really want to increase that, right? So if parents ever want to contact their teacher, they are able to do that anytime during the school year and schedule a meeting. Same thing if teachers want to, and they often do, update parents throughout the school year on the progress of their kids also, right? The difficulty in looking at scheduling another parent-teacher conference is the timing. Because if we did it in the spring, we have spring break, we have February recess. And so the cost benefit of having school out for a day so that parents can get in 15-minute conferences, that's something that we have to reconcile with ourselves, right? Because we know that our teachers are always available to parents. And I don't know that canceling school for a day to have those parent-teacher conferences is beneficial. Do I think having that connection is beneficial? Absolutely. But I think we should really press for parents to contact teachers, and teachers are already contacting parents. I think we should press that way. I know it was also brought up that if we have additional snow days, if we don't use all of our snow days, is that an option? That is an option. However, the difficulty in that is because our winter lasts so long in Buffalo, we don't know when we may need snow days, right? So that may go up until April. and then scheduling a parent-teacher conference for sometime in May might not be as beneficial. So I would encourage parents to reach out to teachers and schedule those meetings as they deem necessary and fit to do.
Thank you so much for your response.
Absolutely.
Any other items under committee of the whole? Dr. Singh?
I just had a question. You don't have to answer it. Like now with the increased subsidies that we have for solar panels and even for energy storage, and an increasing cost of gas and what do you call it?
Electricity.
I mean, would it be a good idea to revisit the solar panels for our schools?
And I know Tom, it's funny because Tom and I actually talked about that earlier today. So I'll let our, again, Chief Financial Officer, Tom Matursky, speak to that point.
We're always looking at the potential to expand our footprint when it comes to solar energy. When we work with the New York Power Authority and we develop new projects with them, that's always the first one on our list. The ability to do that from a financially positive perspective is always what the incentives are to assist us with that type of project. And at this point in time, and I say this as within the last 60 days, because we have reviewed it within that period of time, for a New York Power Authority project, the incentives were not quite there. We do, though, have some things we're thinking about, and they may include a larger amount of solar panels. But again, it has to be a partnership with New York Power Authority. It has to be the incentives must be available, and that. So I think the answer right now is there is nothing right now that we're able to move forward with. However, we're always trying to think about a way that we can move forward with something like that to reduce our energy. And even on solar panels, as you know, we may be able to sell some back to the grid. So that's something we are thinking about.
I mean, the other thing that came to my mind was the governor's proposal to have electric buses for schools.
Yeah, that one I think is still being developed. I'll just leave it at that.
That's going to take a lot.
I won't get into the details. I'm not an expert on this, but the information I've heard is that the infrastructure to facilitate that statewide is still in development and in building. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you.
All right, any other items under committee of the whole?
One last question.
Yes, go ahead.
I mean, does our calendar, which reflects our board meetings for the year, have to be approved? I don't think we approved next year's board meeting dates.
We do it at the July reorg meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, we did view them to get input, but then it becomes part of the official vote for our July 5th meeting. Great question.
But it's housed in board docs already.
It is housed in board docs, yeah, because, when all the other schools are planning events, we ask them not to hold the PTA meeting on the same night of a board meeting, things like that. Yep. All right. Does anyone have any correspondence that they wish to discuss? I'll just mention that we did receive an email today. I didn't get to read it yet because it came in late, but I believe it was from one of our school psychologists regarding mental health services. And we did receive an email earlier in the month from a former student who's now in college who was writing about the quality of our school lunches. And we received one email from a parent expressing concerns about safety and masking considering the CDC guidance for COVID. All right. I would like to share that our next regular board meeting will be June 14th, and that our annual organizational meeting will be July 5th. So at this time, may I please have a motion to adjourn into executive session, discuss current litigation and employment matters related to two particular persons. Thank you, Mr. Biscaglia and Ms. Poland. All in favor? All hands up equals motion carries unanimously. Thank you.